Hi everyone, Nick Sharapa here, welcoming you to another semester of Edge Online. Oh, what did I step in? Oh, what is, hold on. Oh no. Oh no, wait, let's redo this. Let's redo this. Those were new shoes. I wore these shoes at my wedding. Whatever. Hi everyone, and welcome to Edge Online for the new semester. This is episode 1, and we're going to be talking about the most iconic figure in all of history. Like, literally everyone has heard of this person. Like, everyone in the office building behind me right now. Everyone in the church behind me right now has heard of who this guy is. He's the most iconic celebrity ever, and that person is Jesus. The thing is, when we go through our lives, there are plenty of people who are famous now. You could probably list a million different celebrities, and that would be very cool, right? Hi, people. Hi. Someone was waving to me, and I had to wave back. So here's a question. If you walked up to a random stranger, someone who was your age, and you said to them, "Hey, do you want to talk about Jesus?" They would know exactly who that person is, and they'd probably feel very, very awkward. You see, everyone knows who Jesus is, at least on some level. Like, Jewish people know who Jesus is. Muslims know who Jesus is. There's not a place on earth where people don't at least know that someone out there believes that Jesus is God. That's how influential that guy is. So to talk a little bit more about like why this guy is so iconic, why Jesus was more than just a man, and how he was documented in history, in the Bible and outside of the Bible, we're going to take it over to Don Ruby, and he's going to give a really good talk. I think you'll enjoy it.
Hey, so here we are again. It's good to see you all. I'm loving the image behind me, right? Christ from his birth in a manger to his crucifixion, ultimately his resurrection and ascension into heaven, right? What a great image and what a great time of year. Before we get into the depths of why I'm standing in front of this, I want you to think about maybe something. Think about legends. Legends in the making, legends who already exist. And we'll use musicians for the time being. Which musicians that you know and love now could become legendary? Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, maybe Beyonce. You all think she's legendary already anyway, right? Jay-Z, Chance the Rapper, The Weeknd, I like The Weeknd, or maybe even Post Malone. And what about musicians who already are legends? The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, U2, Bob Dylan, the Grateful Dead, or maybe even Journey, right? We all love Don't Stop Believing. But if we look for the greatest legend of all time and the biggest influencer that ever was, there is one who stands above all others. About 2,000 years ago, a man was born who changed the world. He's the central figure of all of human history, and his name is Jesus. And over the past 2,000 years, countless books have been written about him, and he is still a central figure in art, music, and culture. You know, the very birth of Jesus really determines how we divide time. Think about that. We live in the year 2021, right? Which means 2021 years after Jesus' birth. And if you think about history books and how you learn ancient history versus modern history. So maybe something is from 500 BC. BC means before Christ. Or maybe it's 1426 AD, which means after death, or Anno Domini, or in the year of the Lord, because it's after he was born. And while history is so full of remarkable people who did amazing things, none of their words, none of their inventions or contributions has the same impact as Jesus has on the world, right down to how we define when history happened. He's a real person who lived at a specific time in a very specific place. He's the most influential person that ever lived, and he's the most significant person in history. I want to read from you quickly Luke 2:2-7. This was the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and the people were on their way to register for the census, each to his own city. Now Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and the family of David. He went there in order to register along with Mary, who was betrothed to him and who was pregnant. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to a firstborn son, and she wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger because there was no room for him in an inn. See, Jesus was born to a Jewish woman named Mary. He was born in Bethlehem at the time of King Herod the Great and Caesar Augustus. He was a carpenter by trade who died of crucifixion under Pontius Pilate during the reign of the Emperor Tiberius. It's like a history lesson, isn't it? And while the majority of the information that we have about, Christ's life and existence comes from the Bible, there are multiple other pieces of literature, right? Historical evidence from secular sources that have no motives that involve Christianity that prove he existed. Some of the historians and writers who lived in the first 100 years after Jesus' birth, Flavius Josephus, Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, and Suetonius all made mention of Jesus in their works. This is important, guys. Stay with me. They refer to his death, they refer to his followers, and it's significant historical data because in the first 100 years after Jesus' death, people were still alive who knew him, who knew he was alive, and who knew something about him. Let me give you two more things from this, right? So Flavius Josephus wrote a book called The Antiquities of the Jews around 95 AD. It's the first and most extensive reference to Jesus as the Messiah. This guy's a historian, a pagan atheist historian. He also describes his condemnation and crucifixion at the hands of Roman authorities. From the book, he won over many Jews and many Greeks. He was the Christ. And when upon the accusation of the principal men among us, Pilate had him condemned to a cross, those who had first come to love him, though, did not cease. He appeared to them, spending a third day restored to life. For the prophets of God had foretold these things and 1,000 other marvels about him. And the tribe of the Christians, so called after him, has still to this day not disappeared. That's 100 AD. Here we are in 2021, and the tribe of Christians, if that's what we're being called, has still not disappeared. In fact, we probably continue to grow. Another historian, Tacitus, was a Roman historian and senator who wrote of Jesus and his execution, as well as the existence and persecution of early Christians in his book called Annals. Suetonius was a Roman historian who mentioned early Christians as well as Christ. He mentions in his biography of the Emperor Claudius. So a very secular individual has the mention of Christ all through his biography. Pliny the Younger wrote a letter in AD 112 to the emperor asking for advice on how to deal with the early Christian community because it was growing so rapidly. And this is the first pagan account that refers to Christianity as such. And it really kind of gives key insights, if you would, to their beliefs. See, while there's been controversy throughout history surrounding the works and teachings of Jesus, there has never been a legitimate historian that has claimed that he did not exist. Those are powerful things. Again, he was a real man who lived in a specific place in the world in a specific time in history. So I want you to think about this for a minute, too. We all know about influencers. We hear about them all the time, right? And what does it take to become an influencer? And on average, how many followers do the biggest influencers on social media need? I think about TikTok, right? And somebody will come across your For You page and it says, hey, thanks for 1,000 followers. Let's move on to 5,000. Then you see something come across a week or two later and it says, hey, thanks for 5,000. How do we get bigger? Right? And you hear them talk about, being verified influencers and what that all looks like. But what does it take and how big do you have to be? Think about this. Jesus began his ministry with 0 followers and 0 social media. He started to travel and preach and perform miracles. He invited 12 guys, the apostles, to join him. And as his disciples went out and spread the news about Jesus, his following grew even more without social media. Right? According to Pew Research, and a report from 2015, Christianity is still the world's largest religion. And it grew, for the most part, without social media and continues to grow today. Of nearly 7 billion people on earth, about 2.5 billion of those people identify as Christians. There's about 1.8 billion who identify as Muslim, and I would tell you that in the Torah, it references Jesus Christ and Mary, his mother, multiple times. So again, historical evidence. And then there's 1.2 billion people who do not affiliate with any religion. See, Jesus' influence did not end when he died. Rather, his following continued to grow without social media. And while there are many great people who influenced the world and are celebrated after their death, there is something that hits really different about Jesus Christ. Jesus claimed that he is God, right? And this sets him apart from every other person in history. It makes him and the movement he inspired worth considering on a daily basis. See, the world wants you to believe, culture wants you to believe that this is not real, that he did not exist. But if you look at history books going all the way back, it is proven that he did exist. If you look at archaeological finds that happen more and more, they are proving the historical, solid, concrete, physical evidence of all the things that are in the Bible. This man was real. This man is God, right? The effect that Jesus had on the world was remarkable. It still is remarkable. He's a man that lived thousands of years ago. He's still remembered, he's still followed, and he's still loved. He also still to this day continues to stir up people, right? And their passions grow deep and they grow bigger and better. He continues to impact the lives of billions of people around.
Earlier I said if you walked up to someone and asked them, do you want to talk about Jesus, that they would probably act really awkward about it. Because they know who Jesus is vaguely. They maybe heard about Jesus when they were really little, reading Bible stories with their parents, or at CCD or Faith Formation. But as we start to get older, and you guys are getting older now, actually thinking about why he matters to us is a little bit awkward. But when we get to know that Jesus is not just some fairy tale, because he's not, he was a historical person. When we get to know that Jesus was our God because he said so over and over and proved it with his countless miracles. Even more than that, when we get to know Jesus as one of our best friends and someone that we can experience today, he goes from being someone who's awkward to someone who changes our life. And to tell a little bit about his story, about how he came to God, we're gonna pass it over to Jonah. Jonah, take it away.
Hey guys, how's it going? Jonah here. This week, instead of teaching you guys a new prayer technique, I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys a story from my life. Was kind of a turning point of sorts in my relationship with God and Jesus. And as we kind of journey along on this EDGE curriculum, different core team members, different youth ministers are all going to be sharing their stories with you guys, and hopefully inspires you guys and helps you draw closer to God. So for myself, growing up, I had a good relationship with God. I grew up in a Catholic household. My mom was a youth minister, funny enough. I followed in her footsteps. My dad was a cop. So I used to joke around with people and just say, I can never get away with anything, because it's I've got, the law standing on one shoulder and God standing over the other. And that was kind of how I felt, I always tried to keep on the straight and narrow. Didn't want to, drift. But I think a lot of people, I did start to drift as I got older. And it wasn't I purposely ran away from God. It wasn't I, purposely sought out these crazy sins or to turn my back. I tried to do my best to be a good kid, honor my parents, follow the 10 Commandments, all that stuff. But there was a drifting of sorts. I stopped praying like I did when I was younger. And my relationship with God, it just drifted apart. But, as I got a little bit older, past that point, going into my high school years, I started growing closer to God again. I went on this retreat, and this was one of the turning points for my life. I went on this retreat called the Steubenville Conference. And I just remember going on this retreat, Steubenville, named after Steubenville, Ohio. And I had this experience of God that was really profound during adoration, which is when we take the Eucharist that we receive at Mass every Sunday. We put it in something called a monstrance, which is basically a circular star-shaped picture frame with a little glass door. So you have the Eucharist in there so you can see it. And and you have this time of just being with the Eucharist, being with Jesus, truly present physically. And you have this time of prayer there with him. And there's some music, and it was just a very moving experience. And what happened to me going into my high school years, I kind of went into this little this routine of sorts. It was like an up and down sort of thing. It was like I'd go on this retreat and I'd experience this retreat high is what we called it, where I'd feel good. I'd feel really close to God. I'd feel close to him again. And then slowly as the weeks went on, I kind of went back into my own little selfish habits and my own little personal sins and stuff that I struggle with. And just forgetting to pray again and drifting again. And this happened for a couple of years, going through high school, where I'd go on a retreat over like winter break or something like that. And I'd be really close to God. It'd be great. And then I'd slowly start to drift. And then finally I went on a retreat one time, and it was, I went on a retreat one time, and it was the same. It was another Steubenville conference this time. And I remember during the time of adoration again, because as you guys get older, if you go on these retreats, you'll start to see that's kind of a staple of them, because you're experiencing God, you're with God. It's great. During this time of adoration, I just remember making this prayer to Jesus. And I just remember saying, Lord, I really want to please you. I really want to do better. But I know I'm going to have these times where I drift away. I know how I am. So please just give me strength. I know right now I feel great, but I really want the grace to pray to you and to persevere even when I don't feel like it. And from that moment, things were different. It wasn't perfect. I still had my moments, my moments of sin, my moments where my humanity got the better of me. But there was something different. The relationship was different. And I just remember there was this intentionality there. Even when I was felt farther away from God, I still had this awareness and this knowledge and this faith that he was by my side. And even though that throughout the rest of my high school years and into my college years, I had my times. I think everyone kind of goes through these seasons. The relationship felt a lot more real. And that's like any relationship, like a relationship with your parents or with a family member. If you put the effort in, you get more out of the relationship. If you spend time with that person, you get more out of that relationship. And what I realized over the years is that the more I spend time with God, the more peace I experience, the more joy I experience. And it's just been this slow but beautiful journey. And I encourage you guys to take the next step. I encourage you guys to say yes to God, to try praying to him, try getting into these routines, and to make that prayer if you feel so called. Just, Lord, I know sometimes I'm going to be, drifting, but I pray that you give me the strength to stay close to you and to at least know that you're close and to turn back to you. I hope this was fruitful for you guys. I'm praying for you guys, and I'll see you next time. God bless.
Okay, so one time I was at a McDonald's because McDonald's is the best. The best order, probably a double quarter pounder with cheese meal with no mustard because mustard's terrible. Anyway, I'm in line at McDonald's and I look behind me and I see a celebrity. It was Dustin Hoffman. Now, if you don't know who Dustin Hoffman is, he's like a movie star. If you looked him up on the internet, you'd find like he does a whole bunch of movies, or maybe your parents know who Dustin Hoffman is. But I was like, oh my gosh, it's Dustin Hoffman. And he was standing right behind me. So I ordered my favorite meal, a double quarter pounder with cheese meal. And he goes, hey, make that too. And I'm like, make that too? And I look behind me and he offers to pay for my McDonald's. This is a real story. A celebrity offered to pay my McDonald's. And when I went to go talk to him, it was super duper awkward. I was like, hey, thanks. I like your movies. And he's like, oh yeah, which one movie's your favorite? And I couldn't think of it. So I actually ended up picking one of his most like not good movies. It was a movie called Outbreak. It's about a pandemic, which is actually oddly specific. Anyway, I said, yeah, I loved you in Outbreak. And he goes, that movie? You like that movie? Well, okay. And it was just so awkward because here was a guy that I totally knew so much about, but I didn't actually know him. And so when I went to go talk to him, I was a little starstruck, I was a little uncomfortable, and I was so embarrassed by the end of it because like I felt like a dummy, like I didn't know how to talk. The same thing can be true in our prayer life with Jesus. When we go to pray, it's kind of like meeting someone we've heard all about our whole lives a million times from a million different people. And then when you go talk to them, it's just awkward. And so to help us with talking to Jesus and talking to God, we're going to pray. I mean, that's the best way we can get to know God, is to pray. So follow along with Maria. She's going to teach you another prayer technique, and I think it's really good.
We've spent this Edge night learning that Jesus was a real historical human being. We know where he was born, where he hung out with his friends, where he performed incredible miracles, where he died and where he was buried, even where he rose again from the dead and where he was when he ascended into heaven. But we know that Jesus wasn't just a there and then character 2,000 years ago. He's also here and now with us. His power extends beyond just the time that he was walking physically on earth. The stories in Scripture happened at a particular time and place in history, but that doesn't mean that they don't extend now into our time, and we can't read them and actually take them and bring them into our own lives, and take them from being someone else's story and making them our own. So today we're going to spend some time in imaginative prayer, reflecting on the words of the Gospel of Matthew. So Nick is going to go ahead and put the words up on the screen for you, and I'm going to read through the scripture passage the first time. And what I want you to do this time is really close your eyes, imagine yourself in this story, think about who the characters are, where they are, what they're doing, and maybe how they're feeling. And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly charged them, "See that no one knows it." But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. Now for the second time reading through, I want you to really use your 5 senses. Do you feel the press of the crowd following Jesus? Do you smell the dust being kicked up from people's feet? Do you feel the touch of Jesus on your eyes? Can you see the amazement in people's faces in the crowd? And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him. And Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly charged them, "See that no one knows it." But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. We're going to go ahead and read it a third time, and this time I want you to acknowledge any words or phrases that pop out to you. And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" And they said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly charged them, "See that no one knows it." But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. We're going to go ahead and read through one last time, and this time I want you to pause the video after you're done listening and reading, and I want you to spend a few moments in quiet conversation with Jesus. Ask him what he really wants to share with you in this scripture, maybe through those images that came to mind or the word or phrase that popped out to you. And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him. And Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly charged them, "See that no one knows it." But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. I hope you all enjoyed this imaginative prayer exercise. I hope it taught you a little bit something more about yourself and maybe a little bit something more about Jesus.
Look, guys, this semester is all about Jesus. Look, the more we get to know who this guy is, not from how the media portrays him, not from how crazy radical people portray him, but how the Catholic Church portrays him, and more importantly, how you hear him in your prayer voice. When we get to know who Jesus is, he actually changes our life. I'm not just saying that. He's changed mine, he's changed Jonah's, he's changed Don's, countless people, thousands of people. In the world, there are billions of Christians, over 1 billion Catholics. Because Jesus is more than just some faraway God who doesn't care about you, who looks weird in some pictures that you see at church. He's a God who wants to get to know you. He's a God who wants to get to know your life. And he wants you to share with him. All he wants to do is love you and be with you in good times and be with you in bad times. And so we're going to talk about why his influence matters today, and it matters for you. So I don't know where you are in your faith. I don't know if you're I already love Jesus. Or if the very idea of the words, "I love Jesus," make you so uncomfortable. I don't know where you are. But give this semester a shot. Because worst case scenario, you grow a little closer to your God who created you well, and who loves you. We'll see you next week.